Will Rogers making a lot of strides recently, especially over these past 3 games. What do you think has gone into him turning on the Jets, and then what do you think he needs to do just to be more consistent through all 4 quarters of the game?
I think the biggest thing is, well, I mean, he's dedicated and all that, does all the work and things like that. I think one thing, so I think he's got a little improvement himself, but I think that we're protecting better. I think the receivers are, and more in tune with him. I think we've improved in other phases, which I think makes him look like he's improved, which he has. But I think utilizing the weapons around a quarterback is the single most important thing they do, and so I think that he's better at doing that.
Coach, Jameer Calvin had 2 touchdown receptions this weekend. That's his first since the very first game of the season. What improvements have you seen from him?
He's been a steady guy. I think sometimes the ball, just finds you at certain times, certain places, but he's been steady. I thought coming into camp, he's been really good as far as kind of an example to the others because he'd caught a lot of balls and he'd been in a lot of games. And so, so he's very poised, especially that one he caught, which was awfully tough to catch, which was behind him, and he just kind of airborne and caught it and had to come off really quick. Otherwise, that guy was going to tip it. I think when I think of Calvin, I just think of a steady guy that I also think some of the younger players have followed.
Coach, now that you've had time to watch film of the Auburn game in the second half, were there any adjustments that you saw defensively where things changed, or was it just the matter of the way the guys were playing to be able to shut Auburn down?
Us defensively, well, we were right there the first half, I thought. I thought we got better on third down. It's like everything was just sort of a foot or two away the first half. We just didn't react very quick. I thought biggest thing we lined up and came out of our stances rather than, we're kind of the confused guys with a certain amount of doubt,
What's going on, Mike? What's the best way to kind of make sure that your team can stay rolling? Because after a win like that, down 28-3, a very emotional win like that, what's kind of the best way to keep your team not distracted, I guess, after that, especially when you play an opponent like Tennessee State coming up right afterwards?
I think practice well, I think within the locker room there's got to be a commitment to practice well. If you're fully engaged in practice, then I think that's one of the biggest keys.
And what's your confidence in Nolan McCord after not just this Saturday, but after practice and all that good stuff?
He's progressively getting better. Kicks real well in practice, and his day's coming. So, yeah.
Coach, just talk about have you followed Eddie George's football career at all, and what do you think of him as a coach up there at Tennessee State?
Well, I think everybody's followed his career, especially on the field. As a coach, I'm kind of one game at a time, and it looks like he's definitely doing some good things, some good schemes, and kind of aggressive. And I'm excited that he chose to coach.
You mentioned a couple weeks ago, you mentioned wanting to go for it on fourth down more often. What were you seeing on that 4th and 4 and the big drive before halftime that made you confident you could get it?
Well, we were kind of that right distance away. Where was the ball? Because we did it twice. Yeah, you're too far out to kick a field goal, too close that you don't get much out of punting it, really, unless you stick the ball perfect. And so, just figured it was more value in if we, in going for it.
Hey, Mike, do you guys still plan to have that kicker tryout this week? And do you have an update on how many guys you expect out there for it?
We had, I can get you a number. We had a bunch turn out to try out, and then there's also some are still doing their paperwork. And, we just like to, well, one, open it up to anybody that's a good kicker, but two, we'd like to have a bank of kickers, one to kick drills, and also so we're cultivating and developing the skills of some. And so how many showed up? Do you recall? Was it 40? That's what I was thinking. We had 40 the other day. So, and when I've done it in the past, I mean, you'll have over the year maybe 100, of which you'll keep maybe 4,
Mike, on game day, Lane Kiffin was the guest picker, and he picked y'all to beat Auburn before the game, and then he went on to say that he thinks that you are the best offensive coach in America. I don't know if you heard that or not. What do those comments kind of mean to you, and do you agree with him?
Well, he's kind of setting the stage for a really good Egg Bowl, and I'd be lying if I told you I didn't think that he thinks he's the best offensive coordinator. So it was modest of him to say, but and they're doing a fine job this year. So we'll just let the love keep coming both directions. How about that?
Mike, Will spreading the ball around a lot of different receivers. In your offense, does it make it easier to do that? Do you have to look for different receivers? Is it harder to develop chemistry really with one guy?
Well, I think both things happen. You have a sequence of routes, and then obviously the reads are going to take you to different routes on different plays, and so then that naturally, I think, deals the ball off to different players. And then, but there is definitely, there's certain plays he'll get tuned in with certain guys, like anything on the edge, or he's kind of looking for Mackay, and I think as a player establishes themselves and you get more reps between quarterback and receiver, they really get used to each other, and then there is a chemistry, kind of the one-on-one thing. And I think it's a deal where you don't just blow off your reads, but then all of a sudden you're shuffling out of the pocket or something like that, and then you're kind of looking for that guy.
What's been key in Ra-Ra's development to this stage of the season?
He's worked hard. He hasn't been, as simple as it sounds, he hasn't had kind of the, I'm a freshman, I'm intimidated to play. I mean, he came out there ready to play and went out and fearlessly caught balls and did what he could do successfully, and I think continues to.
Coach Cole Smith started at right guard the past few games. Just your thoughts on the job he's done on the right side?
I think he's done a pretty good job. He's got some experience, and we're kind of a limited experience group there. So I think he's done a good job. I think he brings some energy out there, and then our entire offensive line, we need to finish on our run blocks, I think. But I think they're doing some good things as far as playing together.
Zach Arnett said Colin Duncan wasn't a starter at the beginning of last year, but kind of stepped into that role midseason. Now he's been an established starter all year. What kind of improvements have you seen from Colin since you got here?
He's just gotten better, just sort of incrementally better. I think he might have grown a little bit. He looks to me like he's a little bigger, and then I think the offseason was huge, and then I think that, just as much experience as we could get him in practice has helped him.
And Mike, what are your thoughts on the fullback position in football, and what, do you ever see a moment in the air raid that you'd like to have a guy like that in that kind of mold?
I kind of like it, although that's what I kind of like it, but that's what guards are for, And then, I would want them like what I would love to have, which I've tried over the years, and I hope to find one here. The true tight end guy, but you need a guy that, one, can catch, two, can run, and that you can move to a lot of positions, and he's effective, which sounds an awfully lot like a defensive end, which is where all my potential tight ends have gone over the years, for the most part, as defensive end. If we can get a full load of defensive end here, I'd love to get a guy like that. but where you move him around, but not just as some sluggy guy. I'd want him, to be able to run and catch the ball. And I do have an eye on a couple guys, hopefully, that can maybe do something like that, because I do think it would give you a lot of versatility and stuff. But I'm not talking about, just a blocker that shifts right or shifts left. And I'm talking about a guy that, you throw it to and that you're not afraid to send him downfield with a size mismatch on the strong safety, something like that.
Mike, you mentioned the improvements on the offensive line. A guy like Charles Cross is garnering a ton of NFL attention right now. I mean, what have you kind of seen from him to be so consistent all year and continue improving?
I think he's got really good feet, would put him in the position to play early to begin with. He's got really good feet, which allowed him when he was smaller to center guys up and square up guys, and then now he's getting bigger, but he's he was able to play as a freshman, so I think that logging reps and experience has helped him quite a lot.
Speaking of tight ends, your former quarterback in Kentucky, Matt Mummy, uses one named Cole Turner in Nevada. Have you got a chance to see that or have any opinion on the way he does that over there?
Yeah, I like the way he does that. That's the thing. I mean, it's got to be, it would have to be like a guy that can catch, that figures into the passing game. And then sometimes, and I've done it too, where you try to kind of force it in there. Pretty soon the third team guard that can sort of catch, you mess with him, and and all that guy does is get, he gets beat up by the linebacker, and they can't catch well enough to outmaneuver the strong safety, and then you quickly discover why he's the third team guard, so, yeah.
And Will Rogers announced a partnership with Make-A-Wish Foundation today. Can you just speak to who he is as a person and how he contributes to the community in that way?
Well, he's a great guy. I mean, Will's a great guy, and I think very generous guy and easy guy to know. So I think he's a perfect representative for him.
Considering the wins that you guys have this year against these top teams and coming off this one at Auburn with the big deficit and all that, I mean, would you say your team is as confident as it's been in your tenure at Mississippi State? Like this specific group, are they at the most confident point in your time here?
Maybe. Hard to gauge. I think, we're a group that kind of roller coasters up and down, so I hope you're right. I hope that's a correct statement. We'll see. Got to keep building it, though.
Obviously, an emotional win there against Auburn. What was it about that game that kind of sparked some dance moves from you? And is that something that we might see the rest of the way with a couple more wins?
I would not count on a lot of dancing, and to be honest, I hate dancing. You caught about a week 7 seconds on my part where I walked in that locker room, and of course, a bunch of our players love to dance, and the music's going and all that, and then they try to get me to do it. And I was afraid they might dump something over my head if I didn't, like water and worst of all Gatorade. So I figured, I better comply, which I did, and threw my arms up in the air a little bit just to let them know that I was really giving it a good try. And so I started out just trying to walk in place, and that was clearly not satisfactory with. And then that wasn't satisfactory with my captors. And so then I tried to bring the knees a little higher, and then I got the hands up to try to finish the deal off. And I do think I outdid Elaine on Seinfeld, but and then as soon as I thought I was safe to stop, I did, and let them have a great time.
After several years of Pac-12 After Dark, what's your thoughts on back-to-back 11 a.m. games?
I'm happy to play anybody pretty much any time. It's not my favorite time to play. I mean, I like the best times to play is 2, 3, and 4. I think are the very best. 11's too early. I think it affects the crowd to a point, and probably not quite as fun as for the crowd as it could be. But if they want to play 3 hours earlier, I mean, we would. They just just because playing alone is a great privilege. And then, I was on a run. I think if you added it up over my career, part of it was because that was the thing at Texas Tech, and it was also the thing before TV got so involved. My guys have probably played between, through my career, 6 and 8 o'clock, maybe more than anybody, And that's later than you'd like. I mean, because you burn a lot of your evening as far as getting together after the game to reevaluate how everything went. But it became routine to the point where it wasn't too bad, where you just expected it, and you kind of what do you call it? Your hotel, you routined your hotel around that, and it worked out good as you conditioned around it week after week.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.